And so this is the difference between a mindset on the flesh and a mindset on the Spirit, right? That we begin to do the things, think the things that the Spirit thinks. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to join a monastery, right? Pray 20 hours a day and, whatever. That's not what this means. It means that everything you do flows through a worldview, a mindset that is focused on the Spirit. Everything you do, how you spend your time, your money, your marriage, your kids, your relationships, everything you do, what you think, as far as like what we should do in war situations. Everything you do flows through okay, this is what I think God would do. This is what the Holy Spirit is leading me towards, right? And so everything you do filters through what the Spirit would do. And it begins to affect everything you think would be what the Holy Spirit would think, right? You begin to think what the Holy Spirit thinks about abortion. You begin to think what the Holy Spirit thinks about marriage and sex. You begin to think about what the Holy Spirit thinks about your money. You begin to think about orphans the way the Holy Spirit thinks about orphans. You think about racism the way Holy Spirit hates racism. You begin to pray for your brothers and sisters that are being persecuted today by ISIS and Boko Haram, that they're struggling, losing their lives for the sake of the gospel and standing on the principles that is Christianity. And you begin to think and say, oh, I'm burdened for those people. I hurt for these injustices, and I want the right things to be made right the way the Holy Spirit has set them to be made right. You begin to have a whole worldview that is founded in and rooted in what the Spirit would think. A good example of that, William Carey, the father of modern missions, he was going to the mission field. He had a great career. He had a good job. He made pretty good money. And his employer could not understand why he would give all of that up to move to the foreign mission field. He couldn't understand it. And so here's a great example of William Carey, who is a believer, who had his mindset on the Spirit, that's saying, all that I will experience in this life, this is not the end. And the pain and the discomfort that I'm going to experience, it's temporary compared to the coming glory. But the boss, right, the employer would say, it's all about now. You're going to give up this money, this lucrative job. You're going to give up this comfort and go where? And so you see how the mindset, how when God saves you, He sets your mind on the Spirit, and the mind of the flesh just can't understand, does not understand that kind of life. And so, obviously, it doesn't now be clear again. Doesn't mean everyone's called to go to the mission field, though I think some of you are. It doesn't mean that everyone's called. I think over and above everything else, it is the Holy Spirit impacting everything in your life. Is it your job, right? Are you having integrity in your workplace? Do you treat your employees with respect that God would treat them with? Do you work for a boss the way Christ would work? Right? It impacts everything. Do you parent your children the way Christ would parent children, right? And He disciplines them too, don't worry, right? Do you do those things, right? Do you have a mind of the Spirit?